My name is Belinda Doveston. Thank you for joining me for this weekly I Ching overview for the week commencing the 1st of May. So we are into the beginning of May, but given that this week's episode starts on the 1st of May and our monthly is for May, I'm going to switcheroo, and in the next day or two you'll get the monthly overview for May. So last week, as we rounded out April, we had two very interesting hexagrams. We had hexagram 5, waiting, okay, and the celebrations that came with that, right? What was the party that you were having to celebrate, something that you were waiting for? And also then hexagram 11, peace, the fertile profusion of opportunity, and the I Ching says, open ourselves up to it, to embrace it. What happened for you last week? Well, it was an amazing week. I had lots of celebrations of things that haven't yet completed, but were signs that things were clicking into place, okay? Things were starting to move into place. And I had always weird dreams about piles and piles of eggs, okay? And eggs with multiple yolks in them. Lots of this profusion of fertility, right? So what is going on for me? I don't know. We'll have to see as it goes. But this idea of this fertile profusion of hexagram 11. So a couple of keywords reflecting back on last week, thinking about what were you waiting for? Where did you have to develop patience in understanding that the rain will come in its own time? What did you need to prepare in order to support that rain? I went and put in place a system I've been putting off for a long time to prepare for a new project that was coming, okay? So that's an example. What did you have to prepare, okay, to be able to capture the rain when the rain came? And what were these interesting celebrations we were encouraged to lean into? What became aware to you that there was something to be celebrated, there was some joy to be shared with others in achieving something? And of course, this beautiful hexagram of peace, of fertility, of flowering. Okay, I put all those adjectives and describing words together to talk about this opening up, the portal that opens up and lines up, and the energy that can flow through this beautiful energetic portal. Okay, so we spoke lots about portals last week. So let's have a look. The first full week of May, commencing the 1st of May. What is the I Ching asking us to pay attention to? Okay, so this is going to be an interesting episode for us to work with, because in this episode is the one hexagram we have never had on the channel. I have been waiting for it to come and wondering, okay, when is this hexagram going to come up? I was quite happy that it stayed away, all right, but we'll get through that. But this is it. It's arrived for the first time in 4 years of this channel. Okay, so our first hexagram is not that one. Our first hexagram is hexagram 44, coming to meet. Okay, this is such an interesting hexagram because there's quite a lot of diversity of interpretation as to what this hexagram means across varying books. Okay, so I'm going to unpack, as I always do with this hexagram, give you a couple of ways of thinking about it, give us some symbols to work with, so that depending on how it connects with you is how you can work with it, okay? So this hexagram talks about something arriving, an encounter. Okay, so you look at the hexagram, all male lines, one little female line coming in the bottom, something new coming in, an energy that is a female line. Okay, so in the Richard Wilhelm and that genre of I Ching book, this is spoken about of the arrival of negativity. Okay, we've got all this power, okay, the creative, and then in the bottom here comes this little form of almost the seeds of decay, represented by the cyclic representation of winter, okay, of this energy of yin, of female, versus full summer, okay, of all male lines. So that's one way of looking at it. Symbolically, something that is a decaying point, or a difficulty point, or a negativity point, or something that seems harmless and innocent, and so one little line coming in the bottom can actually become something that can be quite difficult. Okay, and I'll get into more symbols around that. Stephen Kosh and some of the other more Taoist approaches to this hexagram take a different view. This is arrival, an encounter of something unexpected or unusual or out of the norm, okay? And our task, so here's the similarity of the two, is that our task is just to see it, okay, to observe it, be conscious of it, It's interesting, okay? It's a dalliance, okay? But this is not the wedding partner, okay? This is not the marriage partner. This is not a long-term situation. This is an encounter that's not set to last, and we should not think it as a long-term thing. Okay, so a couple of other layers to this hexagram. Some people refer to this hexagram as the affair hexagram. If you're doing that kind of I Ching, which we are not doing on this channel, you would see this come up if there was a relationship question and you go, oh, okay, there's a dalliance happening outside the main relationship. That's an issue. Symbolically, from a story point of view, in ancient China, this would talk about an example of this young girl, kind of like a lower class citizen, all right, capturing the heart of the young prince. And he thinks to himself, oh, this is just a little casual thing, you know, this is not a important thing, right? And it's all innocent and it's fine. I'll leave when I choose to. But what the little young prince in his naivety has not realized is that she has a desire for power. Okay. So maybe you could say that views on women and women's corrupting influences in ancient China are not what we subscribe to in this day and age. So we see these things as symbols, okay? Symbols of the so-called innocent girl corrupting the prince, and before he knows it, he's in love with her, but she actually wants to be queen. We have seen this theme in many, many movies, and maybe we've seen the theme a little bit too much, indicating those making the movies are pushing an agenda. Anyway, I will leave it with you. So this idea of something arriving, an encounter coming in, it looks simple and innocent. Okay, it can be a negative issue, or it can be a kind of an invite that's not of the highest and the best, is always temporary, just to be enjoyed for what it is. Okay, you work with this hexagram in the way that it makes sense for you. Okay, what we have to do, the way that we work with this hexagram, no matter which book you pick up and read, is to be aware and conscious of what's happening around you, of the influences and things that are coming in, the encounters. And even if an encounter sounds exciting, okay, there's like maybe a business partner or an opportunity to expand, or is an encounter, connection with someone who's come into your space, or a business that's come into your space, or a partnership that's come into your space. And it looks like, oh, this is interesting. This is going to be really, really powerful. And it's not something that is forever. Or it's something that seems like it's a nothing. There's no impact of us going down this path now. It's just an exploration, but what it does is it ties our energy in and it takes us down a road, like the prince falling in love with the young girl who wants to be queen. Okay, so having our wits about us, having our critical faculties alert, and being conscious of how we are emotionally responding to situations and these encounters, that is how we work with this hexagram. So we have one changing line, third position, you know, okay, third position, tricky, okay, because we are now crossing this chasm between the bottom three lines, the bottom trigram, and the top three lines, the top trigram. Okay, we haven't made that crossing yet. We are about to. And this changing line says, you know, literally in the book, like the skin has come off your buttocks, your legs, okay, you've landed off your horse, okay, and you've been dragged and you've got these injuries. So there's a sense here of limping and being injured in some way, isolated, injured, or put out in some way, okay. And our task is to keep moving forward, okay. The way we get across this little bridge, okay, despite the injuries, is to be aware of the difficulty, be conscious of the dangers we're in, okay? Not to blunder ahead blindly. We are injured, okay? We do feel impeded, okay? We keep going, but we stay focused on the danger, okay? Whatever that danger might be. It might be a simple, small thing, and it might be a big thing for you. Each one of us is different in how this presents to us, if it presents at all. So we work with this line by accepting, okay, I feel isolated, I feel injured, I feel put down, I feel put out, I feel hampered, okay, or there's some challenge or some issue from the past that I'm still carrying and it's heavy, okay, but I keep moving forward and I'm hyper tuned into the influences around me that are negative, and I stay away from them, okay, stay away from them, stay focused on your highest principles. Right, so our second hexagram, the one we've never had before. is none other than Hexagram 6, conflict. Okay. I have been waiting the longest time, as I said, for this hexagram to come up. Not wishing it upon us, but just how long would it take? 4 years. That's how long it took for this hexagram to arise. Okay, so that's quite interesting for us. This is the last one. Okay, now we have done all 64 in varying shades and degrees. Okay, and conflict is the hexagram of disputes and arguments. Okay, this is a civil lawsuit. All right, I'll sue you. All right, imagine those two bison, they're coming, male bison competing for territory, and they're coming thundering along, okay? Or you've got reindeer who've got their horns locked with each other, and they're wrestling, and they're in a full-out conflict, okay? So this hexagram comes to teach us, comes to guide us out of unnecessary escalation of argument and conflict. Okay. So this week, there's a good chance that somewhere we're going to face conflict. Okay. Maybe a client disagrees with your invoice. Maybe in a relationship, there's an issue where you're having an argument. Maybe there's a disagreement within the team around direction. There's a conflict. Okay. The two bison, boof. All right. How do we work with this? Okay, so there's two parts to it. The one part is that in a conflict, okay, you've got to find a way of being heard authentically, openly, with your truth, in the right way, at the right time. Be heard as to where you're coming from, okay? The second part of that, okay, if that does not yield a breakthrough in the conflict situation, and the other person is not able to do the same, what you've got to do is you've got to step away from getting caught in escalation. Okay, we want to de-escalate. Okay, that is our focus for this week. How we master this moment, this hexagram, is we de-escalate the conflict. That doesn't mean that you throw away your power, that you don't stand up for yourself. You must be heard, okay? But we consciously find ways of de-escalating the conflict. It's like a puzzle. Think of a Chinese puzzle box where you've got this box and it's locked, okay? And the resolution is the gift inside the box. And what we have to do is we have to carefully slide the levers in the right sequence. And of course, depending on how complex the issue is, the box can get bigger and bigger. And we have to really slowly work through moving the levers to try and resolve this conflict. We don't take a hammer, all right, to it, because maybe you'll get somewhere, but you will destroy everything in the process. Our job is to slowly and calmly move the pieces around, work in a way to de-escalate and move the pieces so that we can open up the box and get to what's inside. Okay, you can do this. So overcoming conflict, overcoming disagreements, be very tuned into this week where you might feel the urge to get into petty battles, petty arguments, trying to win, okay? These things don't help us. We have to de-escalate those issues. And maybe there's something specific that we can learn how to do this week if we work with this hexagram. Okay. So, interesting stuff. People intensive, okay? We've got this strange encounter, this unusual encounter coming in, negativity coming in, a person arriving, a situation coming where we have to look at it and say, is this in alignment with our principles? Is this a negative element? What is this? I might be injured, but I'm going to keep moving forward. And I'm going to work with understanding the conflict, the disagreement. What is the real issue at the heart of the argument? And am I working to de-escalate that so that we can get to the magic inside the box? Am I working consciously and with great art and with perseverance to work to unraveling the pieces of this puzzle, that we can open the box and we can liberate the genie? Okay, that sounds exciting. All right, well, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. If you got some value out of this episode, it'd be great to have a like and, of course, share if there's somebody that could use some conflict resolution advice, okay, or some insight. And, of course, please subscribe if you are new to the channel or click the follow button on the podcast. It'd be great to have you join us again. I'll see you on the socials, and I'll see you very, very soon for our monthly episode.